We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Friday, and we have the good fortune to have Old Soul finally back with us. She wasn't with us last week. She's been busy as a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. She's all over the place. I wonder sometimes if, I know you have a job, but it seems like your full-time job is activist. A lot of people say they're activists, but you are in the true sense of the form. You're out on the streets, you're knocking doors, you're calling people. You're what is truly an activist.
I don't think I would call myself that. I just feel like, there's a lot of people that's not in a position that can do that. And so anyone who can should. And, like we all can contribute. So if everybody step up and do what they can, we'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah. I know.
Of course,
I know these.
took the wild child with me, so that it helped.
Well, I know these haven't been tough weeks for you. These first several or few weeks for Donald Trump being president. There's a lot of negative shit going on, and you're talking to a lot of people that it's impacting. We'll talk about that in a moment, but I'm sure people want to be updated with the wild child. Let's take it on the light side. She's quite a character, and we always love hearing about her.
Yeah, that's like why I'm back at home today. She was on the road with me for 2 weeks because she left and she went to do a protest when she was supposed to be in school. And of course, Graham called me and I'm like, all right. So I have a credit card. I use it. I tell her to use it for an emergency, like flat tires, whatever. And so I looked on there and I knew exactly where she was. And so I called her. I told her where she was. I was like, I have to hop on a plane and come and get you. I'm not going to be happy when I get there. But before I could get to her, I had text you about it. And you were just saying, she wants to be involved. We should be like proud of her efforts and all that stuff. So I had calmed down by the time I got there. And she has like a medical exemption. Just think about it like it's like FMLA for schools for her PTSD. And we were
Okay.
able to use that and take her on the road with me for 2 weeks. And she was a bright spot in a lot of people's day with her crazy stuff.
Yeah, I know. I know. It sounds like she's fun to be around, and I know she does some things that drive you nuts. But how old is she again? 17?
Yeah, yeah, she'll be 18 soon.
17. 17-year-olds are dumb. And I don't mean ignorant. I don't mean uneducated. I mean, they're just, I remember being 17 years old thinking, oh, that's a good idea, and just fucking do it. I mean, they don't know. They're gonna get into some shit. It's like when my son calls me about a problem with his daughter, my granddaughter. I go, she's
Mhm.
fucking 4. What do you expect? She's
Yeah,
4. Oh, wild child is 17. What do you expect? She's gonna do some crazy shit.
yeah. And now she's like, she wants to go in politics. Like she goes back and forth between like school counseling, therapy, like different stuff like that. And I'm like, where the heck did these politics come from? Like, look at the political system. I don't want anybody I know like in the thick of that, especially how crazy the Republicans are. And she was like, well, we just gonna have to get them out of office before I can get up in there, and you're gonna have to deal with them. So yeah, a part of me wishes that this would just kind of like change, but the way she's taken to it and how like hands-on and active she wants to be, this might be the career that she chooses for herself. Oh, it's crazy.
Well, when you're 17 years old, you say a lot of shit. 17-year-olds want to be movie stars and cowboys, and they
Yeah.
end up being HVAC guys. So, we'll see what happens. But, what people have to understand is when we first heard about Wild Child, she was one of those young women, young girls that had to stay with you because she needed reproductive health care. And at that moment in time, she was pretty lost, pretty damaged, didn't know which way to turn,
Mm-mm.
and rightfully so. She was young, so now here she is. She's hung around you a lot. You basically unofficially adopted her, and now she's looking forward to college and her career and stuff. So whatever she does, you got to be happy where she's at now, because it could have been a lot worse had she been on that same track before meeting you.
Yeah, I'm pretty proud of her. Anytime I like go after her for, just like running off, jumping both feet in, not looking before she goes and stuff like that. She always throws it back on me. She's like, well, where do you think I got it from? So
Yeah.
uh, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but that's where her head is right now. So yeah. You should have. We were out when we had that thing with Elon Musk and his son in the White House or whatever. And so
Yeah.
afterwards, just like a bunch of volunteers, we went out to dinner. And so like us older people were like at one big table, and then the younger people were like at another table. And we could hear her voice over like everybody's voice. It was insane. And she was just she called Elon's Musk's son. She called him a little shit with bad genes, and he would grow up to be one of two things: either a dick like his dad or a serial killer. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay. And then the Mississippi governor, I can't remember her name, but she's like that older lady.
Yeah. She looks like an old lady in a coffee commercial. Uh, but she's got a bad attitude too, and she's stupid.
Yeah, she called. I can't remember what it was that she had did, but out of like all of the voices, we hear her call her a bariatric B word, right? And so like I was just like, oh my God. So I sent her a text message and was like, hey, step outside. And so I like stepped outside and like we can hear your voice over like everybody. Like your language and your tone is like on 10. Calm it down a little bit. But she was pretty amped up. I can't remember what that woman had did that day, but she was like on 10 with that. I was just, yeah.
Well, if I'd been there, it'd probably been amped up more. I would say, I don't know what that bitch's name is, but it's probably Large Marge because that bitch is a big, ugly woman.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know what it was, but she pissed her off. So if she is in politics, it's gonna be kind of like a AOC Jasmine Crockett type of politician or congresswoman because yeah, I don't see her toning that down for standing up and doing what's right. And she's been pushed lately to see how old these people are, especially that
Yeah.
Mississippi that guy that passed out yesterday.
Yeah.
She's just like, we need to go in there and kick him out. And so she's focused on that too. So I think she'll be a little a shakeup if that's what she wants to do. But I would prefer her do something different.
Yeah. Politics is kind of a dirty business.
It is.
Hopefully it'll get better down the road, but I think she's right. When we look at what's going on right now, the Republicans are all complicit with Donald Trump. I don't care who they are. Every one of them but two voted for Kash Patel as the FBI director. So all of them are responsible. No one in the right mind could explain to me why that was a good choice to vote for that guy. We'll talk more about that later. But even the Democrats have plenty of problems. And I think just by way of the way they're speaking out, AOC and Jasmine Crockett are the future of the Democratic Party if they hope to fucking win anything in the future. Hopefully they will understand that, and Jasmine and AOC and some of the other younger people will step up. Eric Swalwell's in there too. They will step up there and take the lead somehow away from these old people, these geriatric bitches. But no, I think she's right on track. We need these young people, these young, strong people ready to fight the fight that the Republicans are bringing to us. You know, we're
Yeah.
we're 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 doing Roman Greco wrestling and they're doing street fighting. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I think one of the things I agree with her on this one is the two different standards that we have for Democrats. Like they are expected to be the adults in the room. So when you have someone that's like swinging, coming hard, speaking the language of the people, they get blowback. You know what I mean? But when it's Republicans, it's like we expect them to act the fool, so we don't say anything. Like we normalize it. And I can't think of his name, and I feel so bad. But on the House floor, he said Marjorie Taylor Greene was like showing dick pics. And he was like, speaking of dicks, and he pulled up a picture of Elon Musk. And so then he went on CNN, and
I
Breonna
saw
Taylor,
this.
she asked him, she was like, as a Democrat, do you think calling Elon Musk a dick is the right thing to do? And he said, well, first of all, he is a dick. And then he like went on from there. And she was like, yeah, that's what we need. You know what I mean? But at the same
Exactly.
time, when Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody, they could do that like times 10 and be as racist as they want, use the speech and debate clause to lie openly, falsify evidence and all this stuff. They don't get those type of questions. So I think that, anybody that's not willing to take it there, I'm not with that. And in particular, Hakeem Jeffries, I'm not happy with him at the moment.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of different about him. I think he has the potential. I think he has the strength to do it, but he seems too looped up in the whole establishment, the Pelosi, the Schumer thing. He needs to
Yeah.
break out of that and be his own fucking man if he wants to continue.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw him when he was like giving a press conference and he was like, Republicans have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. What are we supposed to do? What can we do? Like he was like saying, like, we're helpless. What can we do? And at that moment, I was like, we we don't need a Speaker Jeffries. We don't. And then when I
No,
see him going to, the high dollar donors, and instead of coming to the people, not a fan of that either, because we can
no.
see what dollar donors will do. We got Kamala Harris with $1 billion. So if you want to speak to the people, you can, and you can get what you would get from those donors, if not more. I just don't think that his loyalty is with us the way that it should be. I was always kind of iffy on him, but now I'm like, I've chose my side, and I'm not King Jeff. Like he would be better than Mike Johnson, but he wouldn't be my first pick.
Well, AOC might be a good pick. Some people might say Jasmine Crockett, but she's not been there long enough. AOC
Yeah,
hasn't been there that long either, but she's been there longer, and she's tough and she's loud. She's maybe not as crass as Jasmine, and I like crass. I'm cool with that. But AOC might fit better as a Speaker of the House, but they've got to do something different. Schumer's got to go in the Senate, and Hakeem, you better fucking show me something because I'm not sold yet. I liked him at first, but then when I realized he was tied up with Pelosi and Schumer and just pulling the strings and doing everything he's told, I don't trust
yeah,
him right yet.
yeah. I mean, I have to ask myself, like, you know, he was handpicked for a reason.
Yeah.
I just
Just
wish
like
that,
AOC wasn't handpicked by Pelosi.
yeah. And then, I mean, look at who they put in her place. um,
Yeah.
it's insane to me that I just wish that they would fight harder and it wouldn't all be on us. But like you said, we the last line of defense, so gotta do what we gotta do.
Well, there's a guy named Michael Steele who's on MSNBC a lot. He's the former chair of the RNC, and he's
Yeah,
obviously very much against uh, Donald Trump and all the things he's doing. I don't think he regards himself as a Republican anymore. And that question was asked, well, they have control of the House and the Senate. What do you want us to do? And Michael Steele almost blew up. He goes, get mad, start
mm-hmm.
yelling, start talking, start making some noise. Don't just sit there like you're a whipped puppy. And he's
Yeah,
exactly right. If you can't do anything, make some fucking noise. That's what the
yeah.
Republicans did, and it worked.
I think the Democratic strategy right now, or like overall, not everybody, but just overall, it's we're not as bad as Trump. And I always like hear what Eric used to say, like, Democrats, they could take over and then we could have control for like the next 20 years. But we're not going to do that if they don't like take a stand for the people, saying we're not as bad as Trump. Look how bad Trump is effing up, or look at this and look at that. That's not going to be enough. They have to say, yes, we are Medicare for all. We believe that every person needs health insurance. They need to say, like, we need to invest more into Social Security because nobody can live off of Social Security right now. And I'm a firm believer in giving them a boogeyman. Anytime
Yeah.
you say Nancy Pelosi, the right like loses their mind. Anytime you say Soros, the right loses their mind. And it's like we need to make some boogeyman after some people. Like every time we say Murdoch, everybody needs to lose their mind. They need to know that's who the swamp is. We could do the same thing with Elon Musk. It's not that hard. How have we not demonized him yet? They don't have any boogeyman. They don't like we could message differently, but I think that unfortunately the leaders that we have, they're just not ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Another thing to consider is that Donald Trump is pretty much doing away with the rule of law. And if you're going to do that, that's what's good for the goose is good for the gander. If there's no fucking law, let's go
Yeah,
break some laws. Let's do what we got to do. I mean, put it this way, when you're in a fight or you're dealing with a problem, you fall within the rules. But when you're hanging by a thread, ready to die, you'll do fucking anything. And that's the
yeah,
stage we're in as Democrats right now. We've got to do and be willing to do anything.
yeah. The Republicans right now. the reason that they're doing what they're doing is I think a lot of it is greed, to be honest with you. And then some of it comes down to being afraid of Trump. So right there, that tells you that they are cowards. But the one thing that the Republicans are not afraid of is Democrats. So how
Yeah.
hard would it be to say, hey, this is their corruption, this is what they're doing, put me or put us in charge, and we are going to go after them. We're going to go after Elon Musk for all of these illegal firings and layoffs that he's doing. We're going to go after them for putting their hands and stealing from the Treasury and the Social Security Administration. We're going to go after Trump for this treasonous crap that he's doing. There's nothing wrong with letting them know you better not let us get in charge again, because once we do, this is what we are going to do to you. Right now, we could say that, but they don't believe it because it's like we had 4 years to deal with Trump and we didn't. You know what I mean? So
Right.
they're not afraid of what we would do the next time we come to office. Or, they'll say stuff like, well, when Democrats is in charge, are you going to weaponize the government, all of this other kind of crap? You damn right we are. I thought the rules had changed and we could do that. And I think that us, the people, we need to see them do that. And we need to let them know that, hey, elect us again. And all of this crap that they putting y'all through right now, you will have front row seats to watching each one of them in handcuffs and taking their butts to jail. And that's something that the Democrats are just not doing. Republicans are not scared of us because why should they be? They're not afraid
Yeah.
of us.
Exactly. Exactly. You got to throw a little fear into this. And if you want an illustration of what the Democrats do when they have corruption on their side, Senator Robert Menendez is no longer a senator and he's serving 11 years in jail. So, and he's a
Yeah.
Democrat because he did what he did is not dissimilar to some of the things that Donald Trump did. A
Mm-hmm.
Democrat sitting in jail, Donald Trump's out playing golf. What they say, out of the 31 days he's been in office, he spent 10 days uh, playing golf and has spent $10 million in taxpayer money. Yeah,
Yep.
he's working hard. This motherfucker's lazy. He just has everybody else doing the shit. He signs off on shit. He doesn't even know what it is.
Yeah. And then look at it. Look what we did to Menendez, right? Which lets them know that, hey, we will hold our own to a standard. And when they don't meet that standard, we will take care of that. But we're not going to mess with y'all because it could be seen as political. Merrick Garland didn't want to seem political. Like everything they didn't want to seem political. Um, and I think like next time we need like some Letitia Jameses in there as the AGs, that's not afraid to be like, all right, if you're going to say it's political, then you can say that, but his ass is still going to jail. You know what I mean? So I think that they need to show a backbone. And unfortunately, right now they're just not doing that. So
We need to start a new party and call it the Democratic Militant Party. And I'm not making a racial reference there. I'm just talking about people who want to fuck some people up.
I'm with it.
I thought you might be. Now, what we're finding out, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Um, the Republicans are in the find out phase of the fuck around and find out. There's a lot of them. There's farmers. There's people getting their funding cut. A lot of the red state are really realizing what we've been saying all along. Bitch, the blue states keep you afloat. They start cutting your shit, you're fucked. Alabama's in a fucking tizzy. Farmers are going crazy, and they're upset. But you know what the funny thing about it is that some of these people are upset and are begging for help and all that stuff. But some of them still aren't ready to turn away from Donald Trump. He did this to these motherfuckers, and they still want to hold on to it. So that verifies that we're talking about a cult.
Yeah, I think maybe they're going by the third strike rule. He screwed you guys the first time, he's screwing you guys this time. So I don't know. I think like some of them, from my understanding, because I don't know if it's like a privilege or what, but just to hear the other side from rural America, I was able to do that. But a lot of them, they are out away from like regular society, I guess that's how you would say it. They still
Right.
listen to like, AM radio and that type of stuff. They listen to like the Tucker Carlsons and like the Rush Limbaugh type stuff. That's what they hear. That's what they listen to. So that's what they
Right.
know. And it's about getting them outside of that environment and exposing them to something different. Um, That way they can kind of like change it a little bit. And I do see people on our side that is in agriculture that is reaching out to them and getting the information to them and letting them know what's going on. So I have been seeing more of them in like protests and different things like that. However, it is very, very clear that they wouldn't have been open to any of this if it had not affected them personally. It's very, very obvious. And, most of them, they will say that.
Yeah, yeah. I've been seeing a lot of videos online. They're showing meetings where reps or senators have gone back to their red states and have a town hall meeting.
Yeah.
And it's getting pretty loud up in that bitch. These Republicans aren't happy with what's going on because it's starting to impact them. And then, all the politicians are saying, well, now you can't just yell at me. You got to ask questions. We'll work this out. Bitch, you put us in this situation. We wouldn't be here unless you did what you did. They deserve to get shot down. And I think if enough people shout these fuckers down, maybe there'll be some changes.
Yeah. I was telling you before I came on, some of the farmers that I spoke with, um, I wasn't aware of this until they started talking about it. And so if you look at like JD Vance, and right now he's doing investments in agriculture. And so the strain on the like small town farmers and those type of people, the push out and the bankruptcy is intentional. So what they want to do is they can bankrupt these farms and then they can step in and then they can have that land and then they could run these farms. And then that way they have control of that big ag market. And I believe right now, JD Vance and like Teal is like the biggest investors that they have right now. So it's not like Donald Trump and Elon Musk are just like, oops, we're just like bumbling idiots and we're accidentally hurting the farmers. I don't know if Donald Trump knows it or not, but that is methodical and it's intentional. So as you see these small time farms start to go bankruptcy or belly up, then you're going to start seeing JD Vance and his cohorts come in and get that land. Now, once that land is there, then you will see them starting to do US aid and other type of things, and also controlling the prices in the grocery stores because they will be able to be in control of fruits, vegetables, wheat, grain, milk, all of that type of stuff, like basic things that we need. They'll be able to control the prices on that. And that will keep the prices up, but we won't have any choice but to buy from them because when you think about like oligarchs are the one who own all of the farming land, who's going to be their competitors? It's kind of like what Amazon did to like the corner stores and those type of people, or what Walmart did to like, your little small stores in your neighborhood or whatever. Walmart came in, bought up all of that, kicked those people out. And there's certain towns where they only have a Walmart. Where else are you going to go? So they are trying to do that with the agriculture industry and our farmers. So they are pushing them out on purpose. We're going to have to hurt for that because once they control those prices, what are we going to do?
Well, and the thing about it is, it's very similar to what's happening in housing too with hedge funds. They're out
Yeah.
buying property and houses and apartment buildings
Mm-hmm.
so they can control that. I mean, it goes back to who the true enemy is here. Donald
Yeah.
Trump is nothing more than a useful idiot for Vladimir Putin, for the wealthy people. But it's the wealthy people in this country that are controlling what's going on. They're the
Yeah.
reason why Donald Trump got elected, and they are raping and pillaging this country and all of us in the process. We have to be able to recognize that and fight back against it. I know some people are planning some days where you don't shop at a certain place. There has to be an organization to the protests like that in order to have an impact.
Yeah. I don't think that people understood why Kamala Harris was such a threat to the hedge funds bros because her plan was you can't monopolize property and squeeze out the middle class. So the plan that she had was, I don't know the set amount, but maybe like 5 properties or something you could own. Anything other than that, like within a 10-year period, you had to sell off that excess property and it could only go to private owners. So like me, you know, our children or whatever. So that was her plan. That was like her 10-year plan to get the hedge funds from owning all the land, making the housing market compatible again. And in addition to that, start like building wealth based off of like owning your own home, your own land, that type of thing. When she came out with that plan, the hedge funds, you should have seen the donations that they started making to Trump. Because some of these people, they own like in the whole area, like you can see 5 different apartment complexes, but all 5 of those complexes may be owned by one hedge fund, or you may have a whole housing block and it's just one company that owns all of them. And so what she was going to do is make them sell that excess off. That way we could actually invest in property as well. And I don't think people realized how threatened they felt by that. And that was her plan for that.
They're
We
so
could have
so
used
short-sighted. They're so short-sighted because they're fearful. They want the tax break, and they're worried about the what Kamala was going to do. But they're
yeah,
also in the process of getting fucked with all the crazy, stupid shit that Donald Trump is doing. There are
yeah,
big corporations taking a hit. There are construction companies in Texas freaking the fuck out because they got nobody they can employ.
yeah,
That's the thing. Donald Trump takes this shotgun effect and it affects everybody. We've got representatives and senators in Congress right now reaching out to Donald Trump and saying, yeah, I know you did this. Could you give me an exemption on potash? Because that's really important to us. Could you give me an exemption on this? Now, it'll be
yeah.
interesting to see if he does that. But these people knew exactly what was going to happen, but they got too greedy for the taxes and they thought that he would either not do it or they could talk him out of it. They were fucking wrong.
Yeah, I think they made the same mistake that they made in his first term, which was thinking that behind the scenes they could pull the strings, or maybe there was just one person that could keep him in line. And their inability to learn from that, from somebody who is unhinged and is like a madman, and he doesn't have all of his faculties. I don't think they
Yeah.
understand how dangerous that is. And as a result of them not understanding how dangerous he is, that trickled down to the people that voted for them. They didn't understand how dangerous he was, you know, because you turn around, you have Senator Kennedy, like it's all Trump. And then the moment Trump is in office, he switches and says, okay, now wait a minute on this, wait a minute on that. But it's too late at that point. It's too late. They were behind him for what he could give them. I think that right now they're trying to get as much as they can from him. And I think the big thing that they want right now is overturning social, or coming in and making major cuts to Social Security.
Yeah. I think they're going to have a hell of a time doing that. That is going to cause a revolution in this country like nobody's ever seen. And
You don't
anybody
see
who
them.
votes for that, what's that?
You don't see them already priming their base for these cuts.
Well, they might be priming the base, but this is something that's even more um, important than Roe v. Wade to most people in this country. I think that's when you see, as Will would say, the pitchforks and the torches. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think if they touch Social Security or even Medicare, um, that's the red line that it affects too many people, both Republicans and Democrats. It'll put people in poverty. It'll make people homeless. That's a bridge too far. Now, Donald Trump, you talked about how he's diminishing cognitively, and a good example of that is that he said prior to the election, "No way we're touching Medicare or Medicaid." So then when they have these new budget bills that aren't going to pass, especially the big one that Donald Trump endorsed, Donald Trump picked the big one because he wants it all done at once. He wants the immediate gratification. But in that budget bill is cuts to Medicaid and possibly Medicare. So now he's having to take the heat. You said, but now you agree to this. Donald Trump doesn't remember what the fuck he says. What the Republican see, I think the Republicans think that Donald Trump serves them and follows their lead because they're the Republican Party. Donald Trump don't give a fuck what the Republican Party does now. What people have to understand is he will only appeal or appease somebody if he needs something from them. Right now, he doesn't need anything from the Republican Party or the Republican voters or the Trump-fuck voters. Therein lies the problem. There is nothing holding him back. It's just a fucking ransacking of the country. And unless they impeach him or something else happens, there's nothing they can do to stop him. And I'm sure they're feeling a little nervous about not having over any control over this piece of shit.
I think a lot of them right now, they don't want to. I think like Social Security has been like the wet dream for Republicans for years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just, we can't wait to like make these people work literally until they drop. Like I can't wait for that. And they've been building up for years and years and years for that. I think that he might get some pushback when he cuts Social Security, but I think that they want him to do it so that that's someone that they could point the finger at. And I think they rightfully understand just how weak-willed and easily influenced their base is. And so it's not going to be hard to say Elon Musk, Donald Trump, when they did that, we stepped in and, did whatever. But they're not going to go back and correct the Social Security that they are about to. I'm telling you, people don't believe me when I say this, but they are getting ready to make huge, huge, huge cuts to Social Security. Do you remember when I told you that every single person that Donald Trump put up, that they would confirm that person? And you was like, no way will Kash Patel get through.
Oh, I agree. I said that.
Through. Yes. And I was like, every single one of them will be confirmed. And they are confirmed. I'm telling you, Social Security, they are getting ready to chop that thing up and dice it up. I'm telling you, that is what they're getting ready to do. And I think people need to brace themselves for that. These people are straight evil and they're greedy and they don't care about your grandma. They don't care about none of that. They don't care about the disabled children who need extra help at school. They have no problem cutting the Department of Education, just like any disabilities or any children that's getting Social Security from a deceased parent. They're not worried about none of that at all. I'm telling you, this is what they're getting ready to do.
I think you're underestimating the response from the public regarding Social Security. That's a much different situation, and it has to pass through Congress in order to do anything to that. And these people, we know from the Republican Party, their number one concern is getting reelected. And if they touch that, nobody's getting reelected. Nobody's getting reelected.
These people have gaslit themselves. And they are so, I don't want to say drunk on power, but you got to understand that what has these people done for their constituents? Let's just say what Republican has done anything for their voters, for their constituents in the last 20 years. Name one thing.
I can't, because Republicans don't govern. They're worth shit.
Yep. And every single time their voters march their butts into that voting booth and re-elect these people every single time. So Republicans right now, they feel like that their base in these red states, they're going to re-elect them no matter what. All you have to do is say, this is a radical left liberal. All you got to say, oh, this is a Black guy. This is a woman. This is a Black woman, blah, blah, blah. They know that the culture war bull crap, it works for their people. Like, they know how ignorant these people are. And they feel like no matter what they do, I'm rich, I'm a white guy, I got money. I've been in Congress since I was 30 and now I'm pushing 80. They haven't voted me out yet. As a matter of fact, they voted in multiple generations of my family in there. They believe this crap that I care about them. They feel like there is absolutely nothing that they could do to these people, that these people will not go in that booth and vote for them again. That's why they are confident in doing what they're doing. They have no problem with that. No problem at all. They're not worried. And then also behind the scenes, you got Elon Musk and Donald Trump saying, hey, however much money you need to get reelected, we will make sure that happens. Well, we need to gerrymander some stuff. okay, yeah, we'll make sure that happens. You need to vote for us. You need to do this for us, and we guarantee your seat. They are thinking that they are good. And that's why you see certain organizations and programs pulling out of red states, because it's just kind of like they need to fill it so that they will go into the booth and vote differently. That they have, that's why people say they have to feel it. They have to. It has to be really, really bad in order for them to go in that booth and vote for themselves and not against somebody else. They're gonna have to feel it. That's the only
So,
way.
so are you telling me? I want to clarify this.
Go ahead.
The big budget in the House right now,
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump endorses it. He wants
Mm-hmm.
to raise the debt ceiling to
Yeah.
$4 trillion. He wants to
Mm-hmm.
cut Medicare. He wants to cut Medicaid. He wants to cut veterans stuff. You
Mm-hmm.
think that'll pass?
I don't know if it'll pass through the House. However, I do know that Donald Trump, with his lawlessness and an ink pen, has been running havoc on this country.
Absolutely.
With the fact knowing that as long as I sit behind this desk and do it, I'm not going to get in trouble for it. I don't care. And then we're going to do it. And if a judge tells me not to do it, we're going to do it anyway. And then let's see him hold us accountable. Let's see them come in here and arrest me. Let's see them arrest Elon Musk. Let's see them do that. So it's just like, okay, going through the courts, that's a formality. We're going to do whatever the hell we want to do anyway. So if Elon Musk want to go into that Social Security building and he wants to start slashing funding, laying people off, stealing money in broad daylight, he's going to do it. It's not even if the bill will pass or not. It's if Donald Trump and Elon Musk, if they will do it. And I guarantee you they will do it. I guarantee you they will do it. I don't know why people do not believe me on this. I guarantee you they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And then you're going to have Republicans saying, well, we didn't vote for this. You know, Donald Trump did
They're
it.
already saying that. Here's the thing. Here's the thing you got to understand. If they do something like that,
not if when.
I'm going to hold you to that, because this one, I can't even imagine that possibility.
Couldn't imagine either. Measles outbreak and all. But go ahead.
But listen to this.
I'm listening.
If that happens, if he fucks with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, any of those things, legal problems are the least of their worries. There's going to be some angry people. There's going to be some violent people. And there are going to be people in politics that will be collateral damage. If that's what it's going to take to shut this down, well, it may take that anyway because of all the other shit going on. Maybe I'm fooling myself. I don't see how it passes. We already know there's a couple of Republicans in the House that said, I'm not voting for anything that has to do with Social Security. These are the people that are talking. They've got to go back and talk to those people. And when you see the videos, when they're talking to them, they're getting pounded. And when they get pounded like that, they're not going to get reelected. So when they're out of office in 2026, then what are they going to fucking do? The Democrats will take over completely, and it'll be nothing going on. Donald Trump will be shut down. Congress will be shut down because nobody will be able to move anything. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, old soul. This is what kind of bugs me about people. When stuff goes bad, they go, "Oh fuck it, the whole world's going to go fall apart." And I just don't buy that shit. If you do that, you might as well curl up in the corner and give up. And if you're going to give up, you're not have any use to the fucking battle.
I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is
right now, doing that.
What we see with Republicans, right? Because we have common sense, logic, we can think for ourselves, and we have independent thoughts. So right now we see the game, we know what they're doing. We know they're robbing us. We know that. But you have MAGA that's sitting there saying, oh, they're finding all of this fraud. They haven't seen a spreadsheet. They haven't gotten any exact numbers. Hell, they go in there with computer hackers. They don't take CPAs and accountants in there with them. And yet MAGA is sitting there saying that these hackers, not accountants, are in there finding all this fraud, waste, and abuse. These people don't even stop to ask themselves, when do you go into a $1 billion like government agency? You have hundreds, thousands of employees. And you're only in there for 2 days. And within that 2 days, you've done a whole full audit and you found millions and millions and millions of dollars with just a couple of days. You just found it. Right. And then you sit there and you tell these people with a straight face that, yeah, now that we found all this fraud, we get to like give you money. First of all, if it was fraud, the money is already gone. It's not there. They spent it. It's fraud. So it's not like they walking into the Treasury Department and coming out with a bag full of our money and they're going to give us our money. The money is already gone if it's fraud. So where are they going to get these $8,000 handouts back? But you have MAGA sitting there eating this stuff up and believing that stuff. And so what Republicans are doing is behind closed doors, Donald Trump is signing executive orders. He's doing whatever he's doing. We don't support that. We didn't vote on that. We didn't vote on that bill. He did that with an executive order. Donald Trump is just signing paper executive orders. Half the crap don't even mean anything. It don't say what he says that it means. None of that. They have a way of gaslighting these people. We didn't vote on that bill. Donald Trump did that with an executive order. Elon Musk did that with an executive order. When did they cut Social Security? Not if, but when they do it. The talking point will be, that wasn't in the bill in the House. We didn't sign off on that bill in the House. Donald Trump is the president. He made that decision with an executive order. Guarantee you that is going to be the talking point. And Elon Musk and his little, I don't know, like Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, they're going to take their butts in there. They're going to start firing people. They're going to start slashing benefits and making cuts left and right. It's not going to go from the House to the Senate at all, but I guarantee you it is going to be cut. Because tell me what have they cut that went through the House and the Senate that they actually voted on? Did the Congress vote on USAID to be cut?
They haven't put up any bills at all. They haven't put up any bills at all. Now, I just want to say to the
people payoffs for the layoffs. No, Congress didn't vote on those severance packages, none of that stuff. But they are doing it anyway because they can, and nobody is holding them accountable. I'm not saying Congress is going to sign off on that. I'm saying they are going to sit back and watch Donald Trump and Elon Musk make these slashes and cuts that they've been wanting to do for like decades at this point. And then once they make these slashes and cuts, they can clearly gaslight these people and say, we did not vote on that. That was an executive order from the president. Guarantee you that's going to be the talking point. I don't know why people don't believe me on this, but that is what is going to happen. It's going to happen.
Hold on. When people come to this show or they listen to me talk, they like to have understand what's going on and hopefully have some hope. What you're saying here is there's no hope. And you know me, I don't buy into that bullshit that there's no hope. I don't buy into it. So you can say what you want. You can say that it's an absolute truth. I don't think it's going to get that far. I mean, they're already worried about this whole Social Security thing. Did you notice what they did? Elon Musk goes in there. He's the chairman of DOGE. He goes into Social Security. There's a lot of people screaming about it. Then he comes out of Social Security. Donald Trump says, oh, he's not in charge of DOGE. You know why they did that? Because what happened in Social Security is a serious offense. He can go to jail for that. When Donald Trump is no longer around, Elon Musk can go to jail. They can take all his wealth and they can deport his ass if they don't put him in jail. He's already trying to cover his ass. He stepped too far. This is the problem. They're incompetent. They make bad choices. Like when they go into the nuclear safety department, they fire a bunch of people and they go, whoops, we shouldn't have done that. Or when they went into the health thing and they fired all the people working on the bird flu, whoops, now we got to go back and do it. These people are incompetent. And you can believe what you want with the Social Security. I think that is the red line. And like I say, I think they understand. I think Elon Musk understands that you go to a certain point, you can control the law, you can control Congress, but you can't control the people, the torches, and the fucking pitchforks. The law will be the least of their worries.
I don't want anybody to think that there's not any hope because the power is in us and it is up to us to push back. We saw them do it in France. We're watching them do it in Germany right now. So there's always hope. And for anybody who don't know me like that, I will be out there on the front lines protesting, going just as hard as anybody else when they attack Social Security. I will be there, guaranteed, no problem. There's going to be some extra people I'm going to have to feed, but hey, we'll figure it out. That is where I'm going to be. And then I do kind of find comfort in people who's like, nope, that's a bit too far. They're never going to do that. Um, because it lets me know that there's still hope out there, even with like hardcore people. It's just that me, knowing these type of people, how evil they are and egotistical that they are, I don't see a world where they don't do this.
The last thing, Old Soul, I want to say about this whole Social Security thing, um, from my perspective, I see people get overwhelmed
Yeah.
by all the shit going on, and they get upset. And Old Soul, you get upset now and again. And you get to this point where it seems like fucking nothing's working. Jesus Christ. And then you want to throw up your hands and say what I normally say, but in a different way, fuck it, you know? But here's the thing. What Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the Republicans are doing is bullying.
Yeah.
Bullying counts on you giving in or throwing up your hands or saying all is lost. So even if it were true, you don't want to say that. You want to, and it takes people out of the fight too. It takes them out of the fight. If they say, well, there's nothing I can do, I'm just going to put my head down. You can't do that. You can't even give them that indication that you would do that. You got to be standing up, punching somebody in the face and keep fighting. Even if all seems to be lost, you got to fight till the fucking bitter end. That's the only way you beat these people.
You know who I'm going to think about or who I am actively thinking about before I say this is Z-Man.
Oh,
Because
Z-Man? Oh.
because there's a difference between acknowledging reality and the seriousness of the situation that we're in and being able to realize the seriousness of it and being willing to fight that fight on that level versus, okay, this is a lot. I'm overwhelmed. We just gonna have to let it all burn down. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. That's the difference. Because I strongly know, just like I knew those confirmations was gonna go through, I strongly know that these people are going to come after Social Security. I just feel it. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking. And even though I can acknowledge that fact for myself, it doesn't mean that I just roll over. I just kind of say, okay, this is what's coming. And this is the plans that we need to make sure that that happens, as far as looking at grams, looking for the different seniors in our lives and around us, and trying to be ready for that so that when it does happen, we're not like caught off guard and we're too distracted over here to where we can't fight and do what we need to do. So that's the difference. I can acknowledge reality, and it's hard because these are very unserious people, but we have to take them seriously.
Yeah, we have
And
to
that's
take them
kind of like what the
seriously.
rest of the world is doing right now too. You know, we look at Trump and we like, he a clown, a buffoon, he don't know anything. I don't know if you've seen like he was just talking to some governors not that long ago. And I've been in senior homes. And he would have been sitting in room 10B with 100 milligrams a day. We just need him sitting over here drooling by himself until he called home to glory, or in his instance, he gonna be burning somewhere, right? That those are the vibes that he gave me. But it's just kind of like we still have to take him serious because he is the danger and he is a threat. And the rest of the world sees him that way. We have to acknowledge the only people who are afraid of Donald Trump, seriously, is Americans and Republicans. The rest of the world is like, okay, we know he's dangerous. We know what he's getting ready to do. So we're going to prepare and plan for that. But it doesn't mean they just roll over and let him do whatever he wants to do with his tariffs and all of that other kind of crap. Be serious, acknowledge reality, and get ready for the fight. That's where I'm at. So Z-Man, I know you're going to send an email. Take that part from it. Acknowledging reality does not mean you give up. Knowing how serious it is does not mean you give up. Even when you're upset and you feel overwhelmed, take a minute, breathe, do what you need to do. Just don't sit in that emotion. Just keep
Well,
pushing.
there's another consideration you have to have here. I know it seems like you and I just sitting here talking, right?
Yeah,
But you got to consider the audience. And we don't know how the audience reacts to certain things. I did a live recently. Lovely
yeah.
woman calls me up and she's terrified because she lives on Social Security and pays her rent and she doesn't know how she'll pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody comes out here and says, I guarantee you it's going to happen, you're not helping. You're not helping. You're hurting these people. And
I'm not looking.
and to say I'm going, to take, all I'm saying is it hasn't happened yet. It does seem like a red line. I don't expect it to happen because it's too far. It really is too far. And he's already getting beat up by those things. But again, when we're sitting here talking, we got a lot of people listening with all kinds of different circumstances. And I'm not here to terrify a bunch of people about something we're not sure about, whether we
And
think we're sure or not.
I don't want people to feel comfortable and this is definitely not going to happen. They will definitely not do this, not going to happen. And then if something does happen, they're caught off guard and they're not prepared for it. That's where I come from with it. Because I feel like once you go through those emotions and you realize, like, even if you say to yourself, this is a possibility, so let me prepare for the possibility, that is a lot better than being like, oh my God, I thought this wasn't going to happen. I'm scrambling. I don't know what to do, especially when you have other people in that same situation. So they're all trying to utilize and gather those resources around them as well. Um, I don't want anybody to feel discouraged, but I do think for myself, acknowledging reality is just something that I've learned to do over a while, or prepare for the worst, but hope for the best type of thing. I guess that's the easiest way to say it.
Well, I'll just say this and we'll move on to something else. But there was a little girl who was in school.
Yeah.
She was Hispanic. I think she was Hispanic. And the
Um,
kids were running around her saying, your folks are going to get deported. Your folks are going to get deported. And she committed suicide. That served nobody at all. We fight. We don't acknowledge a loss until we lose. We fight up to the last minute to make sure it happens. We do ready ourselves, but we don't have in the back of our head that, okay, it's like a football player going, yeah, I'll go in, coach. I know we're going to lose, but I'll go in and I'll put up the good fight. You take people out of the fight when you give them no hope. And you have to consider how people read certain things. I try to be very careful about what I say. I'm not saying they are going after Social Security. That is a fact. I don't think they can take Social Security because of the issues with it. They may try to. I don't think they can pull it off. And I'm not the only one that thinks that. It is a bridge too far. There will be violence in the streets if they do that, and they know that. So all I'm saying is we don't want to take people out of the fight by giving them no hope. We don't want to do that because we need everybody to be fighting. And I don't want some woman who's disabled, who lives on Social Security and is worried about even having a home to be wringing her hands over something like this. Here's the thing. My wife and I always talk about stuff, and she worries about a lot of stuff. I don't worry about shit. And she says to me, why don't you worry? I go, what good? I'm not worried. It'll be fine. We'll push through it. And it always is. She goes, well, somebody's got to worry. No, nobody has to worry. People have to fight. Worrying is for losers. Fighters are winners. You don't worry. You don't wring your hands. You don't cry. You don't do all this shit. You got to be pissed and you got to be mad and you got to fight to the last moment. That doesn't mean you always win, but you got to at least make the fucking effort.
I'll give you that, and then I'll add to it. If you know someone, anyone in that situation, don't be a stranger to that person. If that's your neighbor, go
Absolutely.
knock on the door like, hey, if you ever having a hard time, if you need to choose medication over food, always choose your medication. We can help you out with groceries, whatever. And then also, if you are the person in that situation, don't be afraid to reach out for help. I think people, they find out really quickly how, I guess, just like regular average Americans are, how willing they are to help each other and be there for one another. You know, like you've never seen a neighbor who couldn't afford groceries or couldn't afford to do their laundry, whatever the situation was, and you stop and ask them, did you vote for Trump or this or that? You just say, hey, I can help you, because that's who we are as Americans. I think we've gotten away from that a lot. But if you do ask for help, you'll be pleasantly surprised how many people are willing to help you. So I just wanted to
Absolutely. And
add.
that's something we talked about after the election too. We knew it was going to be problematic. We knew there were going to be problems. We knew there are people going to suffer. And
Yeah.
if there's anything that should be in our minds is be ready, willing, and able to help out those people that are harmed
Mm-hmm.
by what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
whether it be people of color, LGBTQ folks, poor folks, whatever it is, we should be able to help them. Now, the MAGA fucks that are suffering right now, I'm not saying don't help them, but they better show me something before I do it. Donald Trump is transactional. When it comes to Trump fucks, you want some help? I want something back. I want some commitment. I want something because you fucked it up this time. I'm not going to let you do it again.
You know, I have a question to ask you about that, because I text you offline about this, and it's something that I have just been struggling with. So a lot of like the protests and, you know, different community events that we do, like more and more, we're seeing people who voted for MAGA. And you know, and then they do admit it that, you know, if this wouldn't have happened to me, I wouldn't be here or I
Right.
wouldn't be out here. Like they understand that and they know that. I have a struggle. It's in particular, I don't know, the unions and the farmers, those to me just kind of like, and the teachers too, those just kind of, I don't know. I have a hard time dealing with people like that. And so sometimes like I'll tell myself like, hey, you know, they are looking for like a safe place to fall. But I can see behind the scene that's being damaged and what people are going through as a result of something that they had a hand in. And even when I was talking about JD Vance and, you know, some of these other people investing in agriculture so that they can bankrupt their farms and just swoop in and take control of that industry, he
Yeah.
like pretty much had to beg me to talk about it on the podcast, because I'm just like, you know, farmers, y'all do what y'all do. Y'all don't want to like meet with us anyway. However, he had to sell it to me in a way that's like, okay, yeah, but they're gonna be in control of grocery prices. And I have a really, really soft spot for US aid. And it was just like, okay, so if I can look at it as bigger than myself, feeling completely disgusted with these people, I can kind of like tolerate them for a little bit, be around them for a little bit, speak up for them when I can. But it's very, very hard to do that. So I don't know where we or how we draw the line in. Yes, this is what they did. However, we all got to figure out some kind of way to stand together and push back against this, because that's the only way that we're going to win. Sometimes I don't know how to do that. And I don't know if you have any advice for anybody else who's struggling with that, because people ask and I just like, look, I ain't got nothing for you. I could tolerate them for a little bit and then I can't, because I just see the damage and I connect that damage to them. I don't know how to undo that. You know what I mean?
Well, no, you can't undo it. You know, you have to be kind of pragmatic or realistic about it. What's happened. There are people that are going to get burned down. There is no question about it. I don't like it. I don't want to see it, Republican or Democrat, but what happens, happens. I can't worry about how to stop it when it's already fucking started. So I got to worry about the next thing. You're right about the farmers, though. The farmers may deserve to get burned down, but when they get burned down, it's going to cost all of us more in food. It's going to cause other problems down the line.
Yeah.
We ultimately have to fix the situation. Here's the problem, though. Some of these people need this. Well, you and I have talked about this. They need to get burned down before they learn a motherfucking lesson. And it's sad and it's unfortunate that that has to happen. But if we bail them out again, clearly that doesn't change their minds. Donald Trump's not going to bail them out because there's nothing in it for him to do that. So they are going to burn down. And maybe this is what it takes to learn the lesson. I don't like it because it's going to cost me and you and everybody else more money in terms of food. It's going to cause disruptions. But once we've gotten to the point, see, that's the thing with the Social Security, it hasn't been done yet. We still have some hope in dealing with all this stuff. What's been done with the farmers, that's already been done. There ain't nothing we can do to change that right now. So we can only hope that people learn a lesson and try to be strong and try to make it through whatever else comes down the line because they're burning down.
Would you consider it like, because it's like, yeah, they have to like have their farm bankrupted for them to learn. And it's like, well, they say you didn't vote for this, but yeah, you did vote for this. Because like from personal experience, what he will do to farmers, right? But then it's kind of like you have to think in the back of your mind, is sitting back and watching that burn down worth people like JD Vance and Till being in control of agriculture in this country, being able to, like right now, when we give aid to well, we're not doing that right now, but when we used to give aid to other countries, we weren't like charging these astronomical prices and all of this other kind of crap. We did that to keep the farmers working and to keep these crops going and not letting food just kind of like die in the fields and that type of stuff. But it's just kind of like how it will affect us later on down the line. Because once we give up American farmers to these type of people, knowing that they are greedy and that they are corrupt, the only people are hurt in the end is us, right? And our children and grandchildren, so on and so forth. So it's just kind of like, you kind of feel like you have to bail them out just to help us. And I think maybe that's like, saying it out loud, I think maybe that's where my
I
bitterness
understand that, but here's
from,
what you
because
have to understand: what your friend told you here about corporations buying out farms.
yeah,
This isn't a fucking new story. This has been
yeah,
going on for years. There's probably more corporate farms, more acreage in corporate farms than there is small farmers. So this
yeah,
process has been started a long time ago. And that price gouging and all that stuff has already happened. And then you get these food companies, there's two or three food companies that work with each other and create some collusion, and they raise the prices. Ed's
yeah.
brought it up before about soda pop, Coke, Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
They all, you used to be able to buy a 12 pack of pop for $4. Now it's 12. This is all collusion. This stuff has already been happening for a long time. These farmers that might get taken out, that would be painful, and that won't be good for us. But it's not like this fucking snowball hasn't already been rolling down the hill.
Yeah, what I learned from the farmers is that they are what keeps they keep the prices from going like crazy because they are
Yeah.
the competitors, right? So yeah, you do have people like, big companies that own farms or whatever, but you also have your small farmers over here. So they can't get crazy with their prices because there's somebody else that you can go to and get what you need. But once you take the little guy away and they no longer have competition, now they are solely in control of the market. And then that's when you have those permanent prices because they're not competing with anybody, right? So it's just like a monopoly in agriculture that we're watching. I didn't realize how important they were until I was like around them and able to talk to them. But then it pissed me off just as much because it's like, if you guys know you're important, if you know that you're keeping the prices down because you're competitive and you're an alternative to, Walmart and whoever else, why the heck did you vote for Donald Trump? And I just
There you go.
feel that bitterness because it's like, you knew better. And I don't know how to like be civil at all about that because I think like the idiots and the ignorant people that really just don't know, it's like, all right, well, God protect the babies and the fools, right? But when you know better and you knowingly do this for ignorance, hate, or whatever it is that you want to try to say, though that's not why I voted for him, but we know that's what it is. To me, that's like worse because you knew better and you did it anyway. And then you have to
Yeah.
look
No,
at
I agree.
behind that. I don't know how
Yeah.
to rectify that in my head, but maybe somebody will have a tip in the comment section. But certain
Well,
people that voted for Trump, I'm not ready for any conversations with them at this point. I'm just
no, I
not.
agree with you wholeheartedly. I've talked to Trump the Fox who said, "Oh yeah, we fucked up. Uh,
Yeah.
we know now," and they want sympathy, and I can't give them that sympathy. because now you're sad because it's affecting you.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at you because it affected you. I'm mad because you voted for somebody who is putting upon a lot of innocent people that didn't vote for the motherfucker. So not only are you suffering for what your choice, but you
Yeah.
put that on everybody else. So fuck you. I I can't ever forgive these people. There are Republicans I know that I just won't talk to because if I do, it's going to get unpleasant. And no matter how sorrowful, no matter how sorry they get, they can't be forgiven because they've taken it too far. They're affecting people like the wild child, my kids, my grandkids, years down the line. There
Yeah.
is no coming back from that. I don't care how sorry you are. Fuck you. You're a danger to this country. You put us in this situation. I will never trust you again to put us back in this situation again. So, I understand your situation. How do you feel sorry for them? You don't. They don't fucking deserve it, in spite of the fact their lives are getting blown up. Fuck around and find out.
Yeah. I don't know if you see like that Will guy. I think he's big on TikTok, but he doesn't have as much of a following on YouTube, which is where I watch him. But I think like the way he's saying it is like, hey, we don't want an apology. You don't even have to admit that you're wrong. You can just say, hey, I recognize that I was lied to. Because for him, a lot of the people who did vote for Trump, like in the unions and the farmers and that type of stuff, a part of the reason that they keep holding on to this crap is because they don't want to admit that they were wrong. They don't want to admit that. So instead of saying, I apologize, I was wrong, just say, I can acknowledge that Donald Trump and the Republican Party lied about X, Y, and Z. And then, like, once you say that, then okay, it's cool, we can move forward. So I don't know if people are like expecting apology because I don't expect one,
I
but
don't
he
want
says
one.
them all the times, like, don't apologize, just admit that that you were lied to. And I don't even know if that's acceptable either because it's like, I don't know. Other people are trying to figure out a way how to like deal with those type of people because they do need somewhere to go. And I feel like if we are too hard on them, they're just gonna go back over to the Republican and their crap because as soon as they try to come over here, we bite their head off.
Right.
It's a weird place to be when it comes to people who voted for Trump. I'll just have to work on that, I guess.
Some people say, well, we got to come together with them. Here's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. Here's the problem.
I'm not
You
ready for
come
that.
No, I mean, if you were in a circle of friends and you find out somebody's a sexual predator and they go off and do whatever they do you accept them back in the fucking circle?
Hell
No,
no.
because you cannot trust them. And it's the
Right.
same with Trump-fucks at this point. Uh, I wanted to bring something else up because you said something and I'd never heard anything about it. And then it slips out that it's true. When we were talking about DOGE when it first started, you
Oh, yeah.
said you said what they did was rename an existing department. We've been
Yeah.
told all along that this is a department outside the government. And you said no, they changed the name of an existing department, digital something services. And as,
Yeah.
as I read about that, the department, it didn't seem like it was digging in and hacking shit. It was dealing with websites and digital stuff. It was pretty superficial. But
Yeah.
you said they just changed the name to justify and validate what they were doing. And I had
Yeah.
not heard that. Then we heard Steve Miller say something to that effect. And I'm going, shit, why haven't they said that before now? They're hiding something with that. He says it's true. Well, what you said was true.
Yeah.
Why are we just finding it out in bits and pieces? That's interesting.
Yeah, I've kind of learned that, and I can just say to people like, it's not fun to do that, but I've been doing like research for another channel. It's kind of like, I don't know, I guess freelance. I just research stuff, send them stories. If it's something that they like, they give me my cut, they make their videos, whatever. But I was like learning that when Trump says something, he's, I've signed an executive order for this. Like, okay, cool, he said that. Let me go read the executive order. So when he signed an executive order to like create DOGE and all this other kind of crap, when you read the executive order, and this was like what, how many weeks ago? Like damn near a month ago, was this
It got to be a
DOGE?
month ago.
Yeah, so I just started reading the executive order, and there was a department, USDS, and they're like in charge of like, I believe from what I can remember, like software and making sure
Yeah,
like our IT is like up to point where it's going to be, and that we always have like the most modern like IT and make the government run more efficiently, but in
right.
IT, right? They're not like slashing budgets or nothing like that. So
No,
anyway, what they did was they took USDS and renamed it DOGE. And so you see people like in Congress, governors, all these people, and they are saying that this is not a real department. It is a department. They just renamed it. So just think about, it used to be Twitter, they renamed it X. So it used to be USDS, they renamed it DOGE. So this is a real government department. It really, really is. And Elon Musk is running it. And so that's when you see like that previous ruling that we saw from a judge. I don't know if it was like yesterday or the day before, who said that he wasn't going to put a stop to Elon Musk going into departments and doing whatever. The reason, like, they were filing lawsuits saying, hey, this isn't even a real government department. He can't do this. So the judge looks at it and he's like, well, yeah, it is a real department. Yeah, he can do that. So he can keep doing what he was doing. So it's not saying that, he has a right to do whatever he's doing, but to say that this is not a government agency, he doesn't have the ability to be able to do this, or this department doesn't do that, or whatever. The reason that it's like that is because it is a real government agency. They just renamed it. For me, what I don't like and what I don't understand is if Congress has not read these executive orders that Trump has been throwing out here left and right, I don't know what to say, because on the left and the right, they are still saying that this is not a real government agency. And yes, it is. They just renamed it. That it's real. It's a government agency. They just renamed it. That's it. So it drives me crazy when I see Congress people, like regular people like us. We don't go around reading executive orders. If I wasn't a researcher, I wouldn't be reading executive orders, but they should be reading it. They should know what he is saying is not what is written in the executive order. And Democrats, especially, need to go out there and tell the American people this is what he said, this is what the executive order says, and it's not worth the paper that it's written on. They're just, I don't know if they're trying to make it look like he has more power than what he does. Like, yeah, Trump, he could snap his finger and just create his own government agency out of thin air. No, he can't
well,
do that. And no, he didn't do that.
well, here's the deal. If it is a real agency,
Mm-hmm.
it's still illegal to do what Elon Musk is doing.
Yeah, because
If
that's
it's
not
an
what the agency is
agency,
for.
if it's a real agency, my
Yeah.
question is, my question is, if it's a real agency and it's in the executive order,
Mm-hmm.
your question is, why aren't the Democrats saying that? That's a good question.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, why isn't Donald Trump and Elon Musk saying it? Why does it just slip out? And here's the thing, maybe it's because if it's a real agency,
Mm-hmm.
then Congress has some purview over it. Congress can do something to shut it down. An outside agency, they can't do anything. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, they say Elon's in charge of DOGE. Then he's not in charge. Then he's in charge. There's something very fishy going on there. And I'm going to try to reach out to a politician and see if I can get a response. This is what we understand. Why do you either not know that? Why, if you do know, why aren't you telling us that? And what are the ramifications of it being an actual fucking a department in Congress? What does that mean? What power does that give Congress? Because they certainly got to have some power over it.
Yep. And I know the reason. Like I was telling you about it, and I was like talking, and even when I did my research and I was sending it over to that other creator for their channel, he flat out was like, "Yeah, I don't know about this. This don't seem right. This don't sound right. Whatever." And
That's what I
then
said.
after Stephen Miller said what he said, I get a text like that, and he's like, "Oh crap, Stephen Miller is like saying this on national television. Send me everything you have about this." So I'm like,
I said,
sent it to you the first time, but I'll resend it again. I don't think anybody like thought that that was true. But I think the reason that Stephen Miller said it is because he was getting the business. Like, hey, this isn't even a real agency. What gives Elon Musk the right to go into this department and just do whatever he wants? And then Stephen Miller, like his back is up against the wall. So at that
Yeah.
moment, he's like, yeah, it is a real government agency. It's this, and this. So he does have the right to do it. The only reason that Stephen Miller said anything is because people kept saying, this isn't even a real agency. He doesn't have the right to do this. This is something that Trump made up. It's not real. And so he had no choice but to say, well, yeah, it is real. He actually had to he had no choice but to say it. I heard Marjorie Taylor Greene slip up and say it in the House at one of those oversight hearings or whatever. And
Right.
when she said it, she kind of like backed off from it. So it's like Republicans know that they were not supposed to say that. But then Stephen Miller, he didn't have a choice but to say it. I don't know what they're going to say behind closed doors now that it's kind of like, and people still aren't talking about it. They're still saying this isn't real. But I don't know what kind of plan they're making to just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. I thought the purpose of them lying, honestly, was just to try to make it seem like Trump has more power than what he does. I'm of the belief that when Trump signed these executive orders, he has no idea what's in them. So he possibly could have thought, hey, I just made up this agency on my own. And maybe he just really didn't know and they didn't tell him that. I could see that being true for Trump, but the people around him, they know. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene knew. You know what I mean? So it's kind of weird that people in Congress are still saying it's not real when they know damn well that it's real, because I can't see anybody not reading the executive orders that Trump is putting out there. And you're in Congress. I've been reading them. But if you're in Congress, it's like, even if you can't read it, every time that there's an executive order, your staff need to be reading it, going over it, and getting the information out there to the people. And for whatever reason, Democrats are not doing that. It's driving me crazy that they're not reading these orders. It's driving me crazy.
Well, here's the thing that's weird. I think
Yeah.
maybe these two said it and they shouldn't have. And if it's a secret, question is why. Now, I
Yeah.
will tell you this because I just checked it. If you go to their website, it
Mm-hmm.
looks normal. It looks normal. There is nothing different about Elon Musk or anything. It's the U.S. Digital Service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the question is, maybe Donald Trump doesn't have the ability to rename a department. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But the bottom line is what that U.S. digital service does has no bearing on what Elon is doing. And even though
No.
he's in charge or not in charge, he still cannot walk into Social Security or the Labor Department or the Education Department and do what he's doing. What he's doing is categorically illegal. And the moment Donald Trump is no longer in control, that fucker's in trouble.
Yeah. And it makes me angry because for me, if I was in Congress, the first thing my attorneys would do is say, hey, this is the government agency, is USDS. They're just calling it DOGE. And the function of USDS is not to go into agencies, fire people, offer severance packages, slash budgets, take away programs. Like, that's not what they're there for. So they are acting in an unofficial capacity under a government title, right? That's what the attorneys should be in court arguing. I don't know why they're not doing that. So for me, it puts a, I don't want to say like a doubt, it's just a question mark in my mind as to A, why Democrats are not talking about this. Why are they going along with it like it's not real? And why aren't there lawsuits against he is doing something in a department that he is not supposed to do? This is like USDS, from my understanding, is like an IT thing, making like that whole thing work smoothly. It's not
Websites
about
and shit.
budgets
Yeah.
and all, yeah, and budgets and stuff that they're doing. That's not what they're there for. So if I was to file a lawsuit, that's what I would be filing that lawsuit for. So I don't know what all of that means. I just know that in the executive order, when I first read it, that I was talking about it, nobody really believed me. But now it's like, it's getting out there and people are starting to to question it. And hopefully we will come up with some answers. But I do think we need a Democratic Party that's able to go on stage and say, hey, this is what it is. This is not what this agency is supposed to do. And he could just be saying, hey, they're just calling it DOGE, but on the website, it still says USDS. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I think that they should be doing
But
that on
why?
some, I don't know why they're not
Question
doing
is why. I think I'm
it.
going to send a note to. I don't expect a response. I sent a note to my representative. Didn't get a response. Fuck her. I forgot her name, but I'll get it again. And I said it on the podcast before. Now, if you can't take the time to respond to a constituent who actually has a platform that can call your shit out, then I'm going to call your shit out. I don't give a fuck if you're Democrat or not. I'm going to send a note to Amy Klobuchar. We'll hopefully, uh, my my wife had a mutual friend with Amy Klobuchar back in college, and they hung out a little bit. I'm sure she won't remember that. Bitch, better call me back, because this is a question that needs to be answered. Why is it so secretive, and how does it change anything if it's true? I wanted to, as we're getting down toward the end of this, I wanted to bring one other thing up, because this is one thing that upsets me. I'm talking about Donald Trump being the mediator for the Russia-Ukraine war. We can all see what's going on here. He's only meeting with Vladimir Putin, so he's not really a mediator. He's already picked a side, his best girlfriend, Vladimir Putin. And you can see what's going on here. He's going to come to some peace agreement. Donald Trump said he would do it in 24 hours. And I know exactly what he thought he was going to do. Big old tough Donald Trump and big old tough America are going to go into Zelensky and say, you give Putin whatever he wants and we'll shut this thing down. Well, Zelensky didn't buy into that shit. Once again, Donald Trump, the bully, gets pushed back. So now he goes to Putin trying to get this worked out. Then he basically enters into some coercion by sending a note to Zelensky and say, listen, we'll keep sending you funding for this war if you give us half of your mineral rights, rare earth minerals, lithium, shit like that. And by the way, you also got to let Russia keep the shit they took. Well, nobody in their right mind is going to do that. First of all, you don't cut a deal with Donald Trump when he tells you he's going to give you money, because he doesn't pay fucking anybody. He's a deadbeat motherfucker. So he's going to rob him in that sense. To me, this seems like Donald Trump sitting with Putin, trying to figure out how to play Zelensky. So in the end, they can split Ukraine up and the spoils of Ukraine and leave Zelensky and the Ukrainians up a fucking creek. That makes sense to you?
It does. I think that when it comes to Donald Trump, he's very transactional, of course. But I also think he doesn't, as much as they scream patriotism, America first, blah, 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 he is anything but that. Like,
Yeah.
he literally sells this country out at every opportunity that he gets. He doesn't understand the concept of patriotism. He doesn't understand the concept of putting other people, let alone a whole country, ahead of himself and his own interest. He just does not understand that. So when he thinks that, if he was in Zelensky's position, it's like, okay, well, how much money can I make off this deal? And he's expecting for Zelensky to A, be bullied, and B, be greedy. And so he doesn't see that. In addition to that, he doesn't understand the world implications of this, because he, along with Russia, are underestimating the fact that Zelensky and Ukraine are not on their own. They're not just standing there by themselves and they ain't got no backup. You got, even France is like, okay, yeah, we need to put boots on the ground. That's what we got to do. You got the EU over here like, hey, we can help you out financially. Like, they really have Zelensky and Ukraine's back, because they understand the implications to their country if they allow for Russia to just forge ahead. And I believe that that's something that Joe Biden, he understood that. And what they want to do is just kind of like, hey, we need to stop WW3 before it pops off. Because if Russia keeps doing what they're doing, that's exactly what's going to happen. It's like a domino effect. If Putin understands it, he don't care. Donald Trump, he don't understand that at all. He do
Yeah.
not understand he does not understand what will happen if he just says, all right, go ahead, do what you want to do, Russia. Russia can't because Ukraine is not sitting there by themselves. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't think that way. I think a part of him understands that Putin isn't his friend, but I think that he feels like he's more in control of that situation than he actually is. Like he's underestimating his own strength in that relationship, that toxic ass relationship that they got. It's weird. It's very, very weird. Then he'll sell out.
Well, Donald Trump has got played by everybody he's ever dealt with. He got played by Elon Musk. He got
Yeah.
played by Kim Jong Un. He got played by Vladimir Putin. He got played even by Zelensky to a little bit because Zelensky's a smart guy. The only way Donald Trump keeps score is how much money did I make on that deal? And the problem with that is president of the United States, money is secondary to humanity, but he doesn't
Yeah.
give a fuck about humanity. All he cares about is how much money so he can say, I made $40 million. Be proud of me, because that's the only way he can make his dad proud of him. So we're dealing with a mentality that just doesn't work in a diplomatic or humanitarian way. He doesn't
Right.
understand humanitarianism. And it will be his downfall ultimately because people, like you say, he thinks he's the biggest, strongest guy, and he can just dictate what everybody does. Zelensky, you give up. Give it to Putin. That's my boy. Give it to Putin.
Yeah.
But and he thinks that America has given Zelensky the most money, and that's not true. The
They've given
EU.
him the most equipment, but that was just our way of replenishing our old stuff and, creating more jobs, basically.
Well, he thinks he's the biggest and the strongest, and he's going to find out very quickly that EU is going to step up, and France and some other places are going to step up for Ukraine, and this changes nothing for this changes nothing for Russia. They're still
Yeah.
getting pounded out there. They're still losing hundreds of thousands of fucking troops. They're still going broke.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin's not going to be happy with this unless Zelensky blinks, and he's not going to. So Putin doesn't come out any better on this deal, and Donald Trump will accomplish nothing. I mean, the one thing he said in when I was in business, the one thing he said is a red flag where you go, nope, I don't want none of that. Is when he said, "You better hurry up and get this deal done. It's not going to be there forever." Oh
Yeah.
fuck! Now I know you're trying to fuck me. And
Back
remember what
in
happened? He told everybody, he told Hamas, if you don't let everybody go by Saturday, all hell's going to break loose. As far as I know, Hamas still has hostages.
Yeah, I think it sounds like that cleaner salesman. Like it's gonna go back up to $9.99 tomorrow if you don't buy it now. I
Yeah.
think that if you look at the way that Donald Trump treats our servicemen and women, the things that he said about them, and his inability to understand why they would sacrifice themselves in service of this country. Um, he does not get that and understand that. And that's the United States of America. That's us, the people that gave him the most power. He still doesn't appreciate that. So there's
No.
no way that he will be able to understand the the patriotism and the pride that Zelensky and the people of Ukraine have in their country. He doesn't understand it. I think that there's a part in his brain that feels like if he can get to the right price or push the right button, Zelensky will fold, and not understand that for some people is bigger than that. And so you're never going to get them financially. You're never going to bully them. Like, it's like, I'm going to die on my feet than live on my knees type of thing. And
No.
that is something that Donald Trump is incapable of understanding. He doesn't understand it. I don't even want to say that he doesn't care. Like, he literally doesn't understand it. Like, you're suckers and losers. Like, why'd you die for this country? You know what I mean? Like, he does not understand that. That's how
No.
broken his brain is. He's just a black-hearted type of person. And I think that's the
He's a
nicest I can say it.
he's a simple-minded fuck. That's just I mean, people have to understand that he's just very simple-minded, and he's very transactional, and he's not bright. We're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. Old Soul, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're really busy. You're doing a lot of shit, and God bless you for doing that.
Thanks. I wanted
You're
to
out.
remind people about USA because it's not something that they're talking about.
Yeah,
We still have people who are stuck in other countries. And what Donald Trump and Elon Musk did when they cut off US aid is they left a lot of servicemen and women there, but they also left a lot of good people there who go to other countries. Like these are real civil servants.
right.
Um, just left them there. And from my understanding, so far they've been given 3 dates. Like two of the dates was in February, and I believe this next date is in March. And the date is like, okay, have your stuff packed and be ready to go on this date. Then it was like that date came and went. It's like, okay, have your stuff packed and be ready to go on this date. It didn't happen. And I think the next day, don't quote me on this, I think it's March 7th, but I could be wrong, that they're supposed to have their stuff packed and wait. Because when we left, like we literally left people there, like in countries all alone by themselves. There was one guy in particular, his story stand out to me, and I'm glad we're doing this at the end because I'm gonna be tore up after this. But he's in the military, his wife was pregnant, and she's having a difficult pregnancy. So she's in like this third world hospital. She's not getting the aid that she needs. And they've been denied the emergency medevac. So she's just stuck there. So we don't know what's going to happen with her and the baby. But their emergency medevac they haven't been approved for it. So we just kind of have to like hope for the best when it comes to that. I saw people on the Republican side and MAGA like, hey, why would you have your pregnant wife over in a third country or whatever? And they don't understand that before these people went there, before most of these people went there, they signed contracts with the government. And those contracts was like, if there's any type of medical event or medical emergency, we will evacuate you out of there. You will not be stuck there. So while they're there giving their aid and doing the best that they can, they know that if something happens, the government is going to come in and get them, but there's no way we're going to leave them there. And that's not something that we've ever done, is leave anyone
Yeah.
there. You need an emergency medevac, have your bags packed and ready, and we'll see you on the tarmac. But that's not happening. There's a lot of people who are stuck in other countries, no aid, no nothing. And we're kind of hoping that this next date, Musk and Trump actually do make sure that we get people evacuated, because there is a lot of starvation and a lot of disease that's spreading in some of these areas now that we're not helping out anymore in that country. So even though we're not helping that country, we still have people there. And to all the MAGA people, yeah, you should care, because A, there's Americans there, and B, it's just humanitarian. I think the
Yeah.
one group that I'm most disappointed in is Mormons, because they go
Yeah.
to these missions to these other countries and stuff. So for me, and I don't want to disrespect anybody who's a Mormon, but from what I'm seeing, it's just like you use these people as props to make yourself look good. And if you can't be there and spread your religion, you have absolutely no problem leaving those people. I thought that there would be an uproar from people on missions in other countries, but
Well, as much as I might piss off Mormons, I spent some time with Mormons. They are, in fact, a cult. They are a cult. I mean, by definition, they're a cult, and they have some pretty weird ideas. I've listened to the fucking ideas, and that's my judgment. And if you're a Mormon and you don't like my judgment, too bad. That's just the way I see it, based on the behavior. In terms of March 7th, I hope they get there on March 7th. The thing we got to remember is that if it can be fucked up, Donald Trump will fuck it up. He always fucks it up. The only bright side might be, yes, they're in a third world country with this situation, with this pregnancy, but they're probably better off there than being in Texas or fucking Alabama at this point.
that is true. And, they didn't, it's hard sometimes. I've tried to stay out of comment sections when it comes to stuff like this, because it just seems like MAGA, they will explain anything away. Like anything, they will literally explain it away. So to blame civil servants and people who really do care, they're not over there getting rich. They are preventing the spread of disease. They are preventing people from being died of starvation. Um,
Yeah.
one of the medications that, one of the first medications that they cut off was if you were, because in Africa, there's like certain pockets where HIV is just kind of like, they were starting to get it under control, but it's a problem. But if you were pregnant, there was like a medication, I can't think of the name of it, but you would have to take that during your pregnancy and it wouldn't transmit the virus to your babies.
Right.
And cut that medication off. So now you have babies being born with HIV and AIDS. People don't understand how horrible that is. And I don't know. Some people, they just feel like, hey, that's not our country. That's not our problem. We shouldn't be there. But at the same time, you'll co-sign on, yep, we need to go take Panama. Yep, we need to go take Greenland. Yep, we
Right.
need to go take Canada. But when it comes to that type of problem and real humanitarian aid, that's not our problem. We good.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I don't know.
That,
It's like
that's
I
what,
was telling myself, I feel like at this point, if you're still MAGA and you still supporting Trump and all of this crap, there's a piece of advice that Elon Musk gave a while ago. Take a step back and fuck yourself in the face. And I mean that in the most disrespectful way possible. I do not understand how people can be that cruel and cold hearted. I don't get it. But we still have people there. So we still, even though people aren't talking about it, it's not normal. It's still going on. We still have people there on top of the suffrage from the people in those countries. So I just wanted to
when
say
you
that.
when you hear stories like that, it's hard to be compassionate for Trump-fuck farmers losing their farm. Fuck you.
Yeah, because those farms was really feeding people, and you just have to realize millions of people will die of starvation just so these farmers can be bankrupted and turned into like a conglomerate and be controlled by a bunch of billionaires that don't need the money. But yeah, we should
Absolutely.
still care about that, even though people stop talking about it. It's still going on. Servicemen, women, their family, civil servants, they are still stuck there. And they haven't all been evacuated yet. Emergency medevacs have been declined, and they are just pretty much on their own. So U.S. aid is not $50 million in condoms. I don't even, it's crazy. But I just want to say, still keep those people in your mind and whatever your beliefs in, positive thoughts, prayers, whatever it is, just don't forget about them.
Absolutely. Well, Old Soul, thank you for coming on. I know people are always anxious to hear from you. You're a compassionate woman. You're going through some shit because there's a lot of bad news out there and you tend to be a little emotional. So I appreciate you toughing it out on this one because I know it's not always easy.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm still here.
You're still here. All right. Those of you listening, I want to thank you for taking the time. Hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.